everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We're really excited today. We have a special bonus episode of the podcast where we're talking to three Regency authors that are here to talk about some of the fun romantic books that they have coming out in a series called Forver After. And I've read the first of the series. I really enjoyed it. And so I asked Joanna Barker if she wanted to come on. She said, how about these other great authors? And so I said, sure. This will be so much fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and I have these three wonderful ladies here, and I'd like you to each introduce yourself. We'll start with Joanna, since you've been on the podcast before. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me again. It's always super fun to chat with you. A little about me. I have been writing seriously for about 3 years now. I feel like the math is wrong on that. Maybe that's totally wrong. I'm going to blame mom brain for that one. I've got 3 full-length Regency novels out right now, with my 4th coming out in October, and then 3 novellas also out. And I've written 2 of these novellas with these ladies in our critique group that we put out these series together, and it's been such a blast working with them. So
that's great. Okay, then we have Arlem Hawks is here.
Hey. I started pursuing publishing about the same time that Joanna did, about 3 years ago. But I have kind of been a writer all my life. And I have 4 novellas out at this point, and then my first Regency novel is coming out in January with the Proper Romance series.
That's great. And then we have Sally Britton is here.
Hey,
yes.
Super excited to be here.
You look like you're really set up for a podcast there.
I just have really nice headphones.
I know.
That's about it. And they're pink.
Yes, very good.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be here. I started publishing about the same time as these wonderful ladies with me. We are all actually critique partners, which is awesome. But I've been writing for as long as I can remember. And I will have 18 titles out, mostly novels, a few novellas by the end of this year. So that's what I've been busy doing.
That is impressive. Wow. So how did you end up so you're all critique partners, you're in a writing group together. How did that happen?
We met online, actually. There's a few writing groups that we're all a part of on Facebook, and we saw a call go out for people being interested in starting a Regency critique group. And so I'd exchanged chapters with all the ladies in our group, and so we kind of formed ourselves, because I knew that I knew that they were all super talented, and I wanted to be surrounded by them. So
you were like the mother hen of the group, and kind of.
Well, me and Sally kind of grabbed everybody when we could.
I was the figurehead of our little group for a bit, but it was Joanna who said, "Okay, this is who we need." So
that's great.
I was grateful for that.
Yeah.
We've been really lucky. We all work well together, and we've been going strong for a long time now. So
very cool. Well, I'll start with Arlem. Would you say that it's been easier to write during this quarantine when everybody's been kind of shut in anyway, or has it been harder in your experience?
Personally, for me, it's been harder. We've had a lot of family changes during quarantine, and we've gone out of state for a big chunk of it, and so that actually made writing a little bit tough.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Joanna? What do you think?
Oh, harder for sure. And I've been pregnant, and so that's been another
That'll do it.
Fun thing to work around. But I mean, you just, especially when you've got deadlines, you kind of just have to put your nose to the grindstone and get it done. But it's been harder, especially when the kids were home instead of being in school, and you didn't have those hours you were counting on. So you just kind of hope your hubby will take them. My husband was awesome. He actually took my boys a couple weekends, and I just wrote because I had to get deadlines done. But you just kind of deal with it as it comes. And
you could probably get inspiration for your upcoming romance novel, The Dashing Husband.
Oh yes. There's always some of my husband in my hair
Yeah,
hair.
that's right.
It's always fun.
What about you, Sally? What has your experience been like?
Oh my gosh, do we even want to start with me? I was supposed to be in Europe. We were going to fly out as a family. My husband retired from his job, and we sold or donated all our possessions back in January so that we only kept enough stuff to go in like a little 10 by 10 storage building. And we sold one of our cars, and we were preparing to ship the other one overseas so it would be there for us. Thankfully, we hesitated to do that and thought, no, we'll let a family member use it and just buy a clunker car when we get over there. Thankfully, we didn't send the car. But yeah, we were going to fly out to Wales in May and then stay in Europe and hop from place to place for 6 months to a year. And then COVID happened. So I kind of had a little bit of an emotional breakdown when everything fell apart because I didn't have a house, I didn't have stuff, and I didn't know where we would end up. Everything has worked out, and I'm in a much better place now. We bought a house and took all our Europe stuff and put it into a new home instead. So
wow.
It's been crazy. It was dark days for me.
Yeah, that is crazy. The only thing I can relate to is that two of my sisters are living in England right now, and I had put in my papers for a new passport at the beginning of March, and I finally got it in September. I'm like, oh well, it wouldn't have been any good to me anyway, so might as well take their time. But yeah. So I wanted to ask each of you a little bit about your process for writing, and would you describe yourself as a pantser or a plotter? The age-old question. Arlem, what about you? What would you say?
I am a little bit of a hybrid. I make an outline, but it's not a super detailed outline compared to a lot of people. I kind of make my basic outline and start writing, and I change it as I go, and so it's not a firm outline.
Yeah,
a little bit in between.
there you go. What about you, Joanna?
I'm like Arlem. I'm a, what do we call ourselves, a plantser? Kind of in the middle there. What I have to know is I have to know how my story starts and I have to know how it ends. The middle is usually a little bit murky. I'm never exactly sure what's happening in there. I know they're falling in love and I know there's complications happening, but I have to know how it wraps up so I can, plant those seeds and make sure everything's going the direction it needs to go. And even then I've ended up changing endings before, and it's been a giant pain because you have to go back and change all those seeds you've been planting for the wrong ending. But yeah, so I'm always pretty flexible when I'm writing. If there's a new idea or a new character that jumps in, I usually am like, all right, let's try this out.
Mm-hmm.
Always a fun
experiment. And Sally, what about you?
I am the same way. I have a beat sheet that I fill out that just, these are the main points that I have to hit, and then everything else that just kind of, I don't know, is the filling. So,
yeah. Interesting. Okay. So why do you think that Regency novels are particularly popular right now, or have remained popular? You look at the time period and you think it's so different from now. There's so many different rules that we don't follow now. I mean, there's so many things. And so I'm just curious what you think is the continual draw to these stories in this time period. What do you think, Arlem?
So I think there are a lot of reasons. One of them, I think, is just we have Jane Austen and we have Georgette Heyer, who kind of kept those things alive with their fantastic works. I also think, especially if we're looking at clean romance, it's something that you can read with your kids. It's something you can read with your mom. It's kind of universal in that it doesn't have that adult content or whatever. So it appeals to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Joanna, about that?
I was going to say, I think a lot of historical fiction, but especially Regency in particular, feels almost fantastical. It almost feels like a fantasy, like, I don't know. I mean, there's no magic or anything like that, but it just feels just far enough removed from our everyday lives that, I don't know, that I think people can escape into it. It's very much escapism reading. And I think that's what's so fun about it is people can, relate to the characters because they're not that far removed from our present day. I don't know if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like I feel like people can relate to the characters because we're not that far away and we're only 200 years removed from that. And so it's not like we're writing about, the Middle Ages or ancient Greece or anything like that. But there's still so many changes. There's no electricity, no cars, no trains, things like that. It's just that far enough removed that it's almost fantastical. And I think that's what people like about Regency.
Do you agree, Sally?
Oh, completely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Regency is a safe escape. And you have so many people who want to, they want to leave the world that they're in behind, especially right now. And I think the last several years, with ups and downs and political changes, across the globe, it's just nice to sink into something that isn't going to, hit a lot of your sensitive points for where we are right now. There's still relatable stories because they're happening in the real world. I mean, everyone knows where England is, and most people have seen, one of the Jane Austen adaptations, so they even have a picture in their mind what these people look like, how they sound. So it's a safe escape that isn't too far removed from reality. Like, it's not dragons and science fiction, which I also love, but it's ball gowns and elegance. And that gives people, just the opportunity to step back from what they're dealing with with the day-to-day stuff.
What I think is kind of nice is that there's always something nice to say. No matter what, you could always ask somebody about their health or their mother or something like that. Like there's something just so relaxing about that to me. Whereas everything's so confrontational nowadays that, I don't know, it's something that decorum I find kind of relaxing and fun. So did any of you get to see the new Emma out of curiosity? What'd you think?
Yes.
I thought it was super fun. I mean, there's still things that I didn't love about it, but overall I would definitely watch it again, and I laughed through it. So
yeah, I thought it like took enough risk to be its own thing, but not so much that I was turned off. I don't know. Anyone else have anything to say on that one?
I've been telling everybody that Emma was written to be a comedy. From what we know about what Jane herself said about Emma, she said she didn't think anybody would even like Emma as a heroine, but it is supposed to be, just one mishap after another. And I felt like even though the director took such a different approach to that it really did come off as a comedy, a romantic comedy. And so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was really good. It's now my second favorite movie that I've seen all year. It's my number one movie that's not been at a festival. So, but I because my favorite movie hasn't been released to mainstream yet. It's just saw it at a festival. But anyway, I loved Emma. I thought it was so good, and I loved every version of Emma. It's kind of hard to do wrong. I just feel like it's so fun. Even I love Clueless. I love the 2009 version. That's probably my favorite. With the longer one, the BBC one is probably my favorite, but I still just really enjoy all of them. They're all really good. So this series, the Forever After series, it's about five novellas, 5 friends who all agree to share a bracelet, and this is basically for like good luck and love, this bracelet. And so it's kind of like your sister of the traveling pants, but with a Regency bracelet. Is that the idea?
Pretty much, yep.
Yeah. So you guys came up with this as part of your writing group, is that right?
Yeah, so we did, was this just last year, girls? I can't even remember. My timeline is so messed up. Last year, we released a series of novellas that were fairy tale retellings, and we had so much fun with it that we knew we needed to do it again with a different idea. And so I can't even remember how we came up with the idea. We were just brainstorming one night after critique group, and we thought 5 friends, because it would be easy to overlap their stories. And I don't know, how did the bracelet thing come about, girls? I can't remember.
Heidi suggested it. Heidi gives us a bunch of great ideas.
Yes, because there's 2 other writers involved. I had it written down. Now I can't find it. There's 2 other writers involved. Heidi Kimball and the other
Megan
one.
Walker's the third, or the
Megan Walker. Okay, good. Yes. So was that challenging though to make them all sort of coordinate, and so that there's, if you had, like in your book, Joanna, one of the other characters comes and plays a visit, but you'd have to make sure that they all match up and work in your little cinematic universe.
I think it was probably more fun than challenging, actually. There were times where I was like, oh, I'm not sure how to bring this friend in or this friend. But I mean, as I was writing, it just felt natural to bring it in. And then I think at one point, Arlem was like, I think my character's only a few miles from you at this point in her history. So I'm like, all right, let's get together then. Yeah. And so we made it work that her character was visiting her family, and we got together, and she got to give my character Daphne some much needed advice on love, and it was fun. And so basically what we do is I would write the scene and kind of block it out, and then I would send it over to Arlem, and she would read it and make sure that it had her character's voice and what she really would say, things like that. And I think we did the same thing to Sally with Phoebe and Daphne. They had a scene together as well in her book. So I think, and I think we've got that balance really well of not making it too complicated for ourselves, but still having enough overlap that people were intrigued by the other characters. So
yeah, that is so cool. And do you have the little introduction, the prologue, in every single book? Like I said, I've only read Joanna's book, but so you have that connecting, so everybody can start in any of the books, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was one of our fun ideas.
No, that was going to say, that was actually the most fun for me, was to write that prologue together, because what we did was we all got online together one night, and we opened a Word doc that we could all work on, or a Google doc that we could all work on at the same time. And we kind of just giggled the whole way through writing that prologue, just to get the initial scene blocked out and to know who said what. And from that point, we each then took that prologue and then put it in, we left to everybody's words and where they were standing and gestures and things like that. But then we went in and just gave the prologue from our character's perspective. But that was such a fun evening, was for all of us to sit and giggle and talk and write in the different phrases and things that we used. It was pretty hilarious.
No, that's really fun. I love the idea. I think it's great. The idea of that's one thing that we don't really get very often in the Hallmark movies versus you get in romance novels, is a sense of sort of continuity between different books. Like you'll have the Fool's Gold series, or the sometimes there'll be like a baseball team series, or a whatever it might be, is the sort of the romance novel. And I love that kind of stuff. I think it's so fun. And we've gotten it a little bit lately with like the Wedding March movies, which aren't very good, and the Christmas and Evergreen movies, a few others. They're starting to kind of get that feel, and I really like that. I think it makes it fun. Like you get little Easter eggs and in between the different movies, and so I think that Hallmark should do more of that, in my opinion. But so I love the idea that you 5 as friends came up with this idea, because I was going to ask, like, how did you come up with, how did you all get together? But it sounds like it happened so naturally as part of your just critique group. I love that. I think I'm jealous. Something like that sounds so fun. I mean, it really actually is kind of similar to what we do with the podcast with me and my co-hosts. When we're all over the country, actually, and we have our little Google chat group, and we come up with podcast ideas, and it's really fun. So let's go over each of the books and talk about your stories and kind of how you came up with them. So So, Joanna, your book is called Romancing Her Rival, and it's about Daphne. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the story?
So I actually came up with this idea. I was flying out to a writing conference just a year. It was a year ago exactly, I think. And I was knowing that I was going to see these girls at this writing conference, and that we were going to be chatting about this series. It's been in the works for a long time. And so I was trying to brainstorm these ideas. I had a few ideas that I liked, but nothing was really speaking to me. And then I can't even remember where. I was just on the plane and it popped in my head. I'm like, what if there were two rivals for this inheritance, and they have to battle it out between each other, and that the idea did change a lot. At first the inheritance hadn't been decided who got it, and then it changed that Cole, the hero, had already gotten it. Daphne was trying to get it back from him, and so it did change a little bit and grow. And then at first Daphne's character was a lot more outgoing, but but then she changed into this, quieter, more of a follower than a leader kind of girl. And that's because I decided she needed some character growth. She needed to be able to prove to herself and to her aunt who's given the inheritance, and to Cole, that she, could stand up for herself and all that. Anyways, and so the story turned out so fun. I had a lot of fun writing and researching for this one. They get to take a little day trip down to the cliffs of Dover, so I got to spend a day looking at pictures and videos of Dover. Now it's officially on my must-travel to list. Anyways, there were just a bunch of fun little things about the story that I really loved putting together. So,
I know I would love to go on the Jane Austen book tour.
I'm right there with you.
It would be so fun, and get to see all the places from the different movies and her house and all that stuff. That would be the best.
Day.
Yeah, someday. Yeah. By the way, I also did, I don't know did any of you watch the Sanditon series, the unfinished? I was not a fan of that one. I'll tell you that right now, especially that ending.
I liked, but
yeah, that ending was low.
Yeah.
Like, you could have made anything. It was unfinished. You could have given it any ending. And most of the side plots I thought were terrible. I was not a fan of Sanditon.
I didn't love it, but it's all whenever they put out a period piece, I feel like I have to be grateful for it no matter what it is.
It was just I felt like they were trying too hard. That's the example. Like the Emma, they had just the right amount of edge. They did just enough to make it fun. But the Sanditon, it was like so anyway, yeah. So So how did you come up with the name Cole Everard? Or maybe I'm saying that wrong.
Cole is actually my oldest son's middle name.
Nice.
And I'd already used my younger son's middle name for a different book. And so I'm like, I think Cole needs some time to shine. And Everard, I can't even remember where I found that. I think a lot of us do the same thing where we just kind of collect names. Like, I've got a list on my phone where I see a name somewhere, or I hear a name and I'm like, oh, that would be a great character. And I write it down. I always tell my husband, I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that for a character. And then I always go and check and make sure it's a realistic name for that time period. I'll look at the census or wherever to make sure it was actually used back then. But I don't know. Usually I just pull from my list of names that I love and want to use. So.
It was fun. I really enjoyed, sorry we'll talk about this one the most because it is the one that I've read, but I really enjoyed it, the back and forth between the two, them. And I thought that the ending was really strong. I thought you did a really good job with the kissing at the end. I think you did a great job with that.
I love writing good kissing.
Yeah, you did great.
They're always so fun.
Yes, and I liked Aunt Hartwell as a character. I thought she was fun.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know who she was going to be like. This is one of those times where I'm pantsing. I get to the scene where the aunt and Daphne are reuniting, and I'm like, I don't know what the aunt's like, and she just kind of jumped out of my fingers, which is really fun. That doesn't always happen, but it did with her. So she
kind of reminded me a little bit of Aunt March in Little Women. A little bit.
Oh yeah, kind of. She does her own thing. She's wealthy, do what she wants. Yeah.
That was fun. And kind of her giving the inheritance to Amy and taking Amy on the Europe. It kind of felt similar in feel to that.
You're totally right. Yeah. Maybe I would I mean, I'd probably just watched that new Little Women when I was drafting this. So
There you go.
I was probably subconsciously.
Meryl Streep is in your head and you didn't know it.
Yeah, that's who it was.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at ModCloth. And at ModCloth, we make getting dressed fun. Back to being independently owned, we're all about perfect fits for every body. Unique, mood-boosting prints, vintage-inspired, versatile styles that make you look good. But more importantly, feel good. Find your joy at ModCloth. And one of the things that impresses me the most about ModCloth is the number of sizes that they have, going all the way up to 4X on some items. And then extra small. And so they really have something for everybody, every size, which is really nice. And also, I really like the prints that they have. As they said, they're very vintage inspired. They're unique. They even have some things right now for Halloween, the Happy Hallow Queens sweaters and jewelry and other things. And they have outerwear. We're going to be looking to get for fall, going to be getting a coat. Then you can find something really nice at ModCloth. So it's a great place to go to support and to find a unique style so you don't look like everybody else. To get 20% off your purchase of $75 or more, including sale items, go to modcloth.com. That's MODCLOTH.com and enter code Hallmarkies at checkout. The promo code cannot be combined with other offers. It's a great deal. So go to modcloth.com, enter code Hallmarkies for 20% off your order of $75 or more. Very good. Well, Sally, your book, Letters for Phoebe, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good. I got that right. So Phoebe is really desperate for a husband. Is that kind of the? I was reading up on it.
It's not so much desperate as she's just like, you know what? I'm just going to do this thing. We're just going to get married, and I'm going to find somebody because I'm tired of, just living in the same cycle over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So she's got a comfortable family situation. Nothing horrible is happening at home, but it's just, she's ready to grow up. She's ready to take the next step. So she hasn't had a lot of luck with just finding love. So.
Yes. And the guy is named Griffin Fenwick. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is a great name. How did you come up with that name?
Well, I collect names like Joanna. And so I had the name Griffin in my first name column, because I have columns like on a spreadsheet that I mix and match and sort in different ways. Uh-huh. And I had the name Fenwick in my surname column. And I was like, that sounds so much fun when you say the two things together. Griffin Fenwick. And the name was fun, but it also sounded ridiculous. And I wanted my heroine to be this really proper, practical person who is not, she doesn't tolerate the ridiculous. And so for the hero to have a ridiculous name just made it that much more fun to get them together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really liked that. And so she writes kind of a letter with her suitors. Is that correct?
What happens is she is going after the wrong guy, and he barely knows her family, but he knows that she's going after this man who is not, Griffin, like, I wouldn't trust this guy with anybody. And so he sends an anonymous note through a flower girl that works in the neighborhood. And because it would have been a real scandal for her to receive a note from a bachelor, back then, that was not a good thing. So she receives this anonymous note, and when she checks up on it, she discovers that it's true. The person who sent the note really was warning her off, like a gambler and fortune hunter. So she sends a note back through the little flower girl. She gives the flower girl a note and says, hey, just give this to whoever gave you that letter for me. And that's how their letter exchange starts. And the whole thing was really inspired by Shop Around the Corner, which inspired You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Because I love the idea of somebody falling in love through letters when they don't necessarily like each other in person, at least not at first.
Yeah, I love both of those films, so I'm a big fan. A lot of people try to do it and do it wrong, because the thing about, I think, that makes You've Got Mail a good movie is that the store actually closes. There's actually stakes. And there's so many of the save the farm, save the store, save the restaurant, whatever stories where there's no chance in heck that this place is going to close. So you don't really care that much. And in this, she has to actually grow and become a better person. And of course, it's got Nora Ephron's writing, which is so brilliant. And the original is kind of weird. I like it, but it's also sort of strange. I mean, it goes so dark for the kind of movie that it is, you know, with suicide and stuff like that happening. But I still really like it. But yeah, I love that dynamic of you think you are this particular kind of person, but you actually are a different kind of person, and that's the person that you fall in love with somebody. You don't even realize it. So that sounds great. I'm definitely excited to read that. It'll be really fun. So Arlem, I'm actually curious. I have to ask about both of the books I was checking on Amazon, but this one, it's Commander of His Heart. Is that correct? Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? It's brand new, right?
Yes, it came out today, actually.
Yeah, that's congratulations.
Thank you. So Commander of His Heart is the fourth book in the series. And Mara, she is kind of a little bit of a cynic. And you see that at the beginning in the prologue. She doesn't really believe that true love is real. She thinks that it's just a fantasy and that real life is a lot harder because she's had a bunch of difficult things happen already in her life. And soon after she leaves school, she actually gets married. And it's a marriage of convenience. It's so that she's not a burden to her family. And right before the book starts, her husband has died. But she is hiding it from the Navy. He was a bosun on a Navy brig. And she is hiding that fact from the Navy so that she can continue to do his work and get paid for his work without the Navy knowing, so she can still.
So they get a new lieutenant named Colin Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta ask how you came up with that name.
So Boyd is my dad's name, actually. I kind of do what Joanna does, and in I think almost every one of my books, I have at least one or two characters named after someone in my family. Mm-hmm. So Boyd is from that, and then I just picked a name that I felt worked with it.
Did you have to like research all this 1700s, or I guess it's 1700s, right? They like maritime stuff.
Yes, a couple of years ago, I fell down the Royal Navy rabbit hole, and everybody can attest that I fell way down the rabbit hole.
Phil is the expert on the Navy.
That is funny.
I became obsessed with it a little bit, and so most of my books have at least a tie-in to the Navy.
Yeah. That's funny. The only reason I laugh about that is because whenever we play Scrabble with my mother, she always knows all these weird maritime words, and we're like, "How do you know?" She's like, "It's part of a ship." Like, what? So it could come in handy when you play Scrabble.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah, this sounds really fun. So he comes on this ship and is kind of like, what is this woman on the ship, right?
Yeah, so women were on Navy ships. Not all of them. There was technically a rule that they weren't supposed to be on, but the different captains would kind of interpret the rule as they would. But a lot of times, like the carpenter could bring his wife or the bosun could bring his wife. So Mara has been on this boat with her husband, learning everything that he does. The lieutenant comes on, and he would be a master and commander is the position for someone who is over a brig. And for a little while, she keeps it a secret that she says her husband is just sick. And then when he uncovers it, he's kind of in this weird situation where he doesn't have a bosun, who is one of the most important members of your crew. And he has a woman who is very good at it, but shouldn't be there. And so he kind of has to figure out what he's going to do while also he's falling in love.
Nice. Is she like kind of like Elizabeth Swann, kind of pirate-ish feel a little bit?
A little bit. She's a little bit more quiet, but she draws inspiration and courage from her friends, especially from Phoebe and Isabel, who's another one of the friends and definitely a feminist. And so they have a lot of influence on her.
That's great. That sounds really fun. I can't wait to read it. I have all of your books on my Kindle ready to go. So I'm excited to read them all. But I had to ask you, I just saw it in my searching on Amazon about your fairy tale retelling. Since we are a Christmas podcast and we cover 115 Christmas movies last year, I had to ask you about this book, this In Pursuit of a Gentleman, about the gingerbread man. Please tell us all about it. What is that?
I had so much fun writing because I made it this story about this gentleman who does not want to get married. He's a second son. He didn't think that he would be an heir. And all of a sudden, everybody is kind of after him. And I pull in all of the girls that are after him, kind of have names connected to the farm animals that go after the gingerbread man in the original story. And the main girl is the fox who catches him in the end. And her uncle, she stays with her uncle who has a bakery that specializes in gingerbread. And so it was a super fun little novella.
Oh my gosh. I immediately downloaded it. I'm like, I have to read this. This sounds great.
So cute. You'll love it.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, before we go, we're going to do our holiday questions. And it's going to be kind of a lightning round kind of a thing. I think Joanna maybe did this last year. I can't remember. But if you'll humor us and just do it again, it would be great. So basically, I'll say the question, and then if you want to kind of do it in the order we've been doing it with Joanna and then Sally and then Arlem, give your answers. So, all right, first question: what is your favorite holiday drink?
Oh, hot chocolate. I don't know.
All right, Sally.
Hot chocolate with pumpkin spice.
Ooh, and Arlem.
I like peppermint hot chocolate.
Oh, sounds good. All hot chocolate. Okay, favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Fudge. I'm going with fudge.
Okay. Sally?
Oh my gosh, s'mores, because it's finally cold enough to sit around a fire outside.
Sounds fun. That sounds good. All right, Arlem?
My favorite is homemade English toffee.
Ooh, candy is so hard to make, I think. I failed every time I've attempted to make. I made fudge. That's the only thing I've ever made. Okay. What is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
I don't know. If I say Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, is that going to make you guys judge me too much? Because I really
No. We approve. We approve.
We're all to that one every year.
She's the queen of Christmas. You can't go wrong with that. All right. Sally, what about you?
I have always loved Joy to the World. It was the first Christmas song that I committed to memory as a kid. So that's my favorite.
Good one. Arlem?
My favorite is O Come All Ye Faithful.
Okay, great. That's a good one. Okay, favorite classic Christmas movie?
It's a Wonderful Life. I just love it. It makes me happy. Takes me to a happy place.
That's a good one. We should probably alternate. I didn't even think of that now Joanna has to answer first all the time. Sally, what do you think?
Oh, goodness. We watched the bishop's wife every year as a family because my mom's favorite actor is Cary Grant. So I like the romance author in me hates just a little bit the way that movie ends, but at the same time, it's such a part of Christmas for me. It wouldn't be Christmas without watching it at least once.
Yeah, I like that, and I also think the remake's pretty good. Preacher's Wife with Whitney Houston. Arlen, what about you?
White Christmas for me.
Yeah, good one. Can't go wrong with that. Okay, now this would just be one or the other. What, Scrooge or the Grinch? You said Scrooge?
Scrooge, yeah.
All right.
After I saw, what is it called? The Man Who Invented Christmas? Oh,
Yes.
I love that one. So
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, definitely Scrooge. I'm a Charles Dickens fan.
Yeah. All right. Arlen, you agree?
I'm the same. Yep, Scrooge.
Okay, good.
Like Grinch.
Me too. I mean, I love animation, so I do enjoy the Grinch, but Scrooge is my favorite. All right. Clear lights or colored?
clear. I'm going with clear.
All of my lights do both.
Oh, you
I buy
fancy.
them that way on purpose.
All right. What do you think, Arlen?
I like a nice traditional, so I'll go with clear.
Very good. Okay. Would you rather be in a snowball fight or build a snowman?
Probably snowball fight. Building snowman's a lot of work, so I'll take the easy way out.
You have to have a lot of snow, too.
I don't know. We lived in Arizona. We got one snow day 2 years ago, and I made myself a little bit of a snowball, came inside the house, and chucked it at my husband. So, snowball fight.
Very good. All right. Do you agree?
For me, it depends on who I'm with. I definitely chucking snowballs at my husband as well. But if it's with my kids, I'd much rather build a snowman.
Good. That's a good answer. Would you describe yourself as a good gift wrapper or not?
Depends on how close to Christmas we are. I start out really good. I got like the crisp lines, and then the closer we get, I'm like, I don't care. It's all going under the tree anyway.
Yeah.
So I can be a good rapper.
Yeah. What do you think, Sally?
Gift bags were invented for people like me. Like, give me all the tissue paper and the pretty bag. That's good enough.
Very good. All right, Arlen, what about you?
I wouldn't consider myself a fantastic rapper. I do like gift bags as well.
All right, last question. Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater, and what does your ugly Christmas sweater look like?
Oh yeah, I have an ugly Christmas sweater vest, so it kind of takes it up a notch, and it's got red, and it's knitted, and it's got beads, and it's very gaudy, and I love it. My kids beg me to wear it every Christmas. It's so funny.
Very good. Yeah, I love that. Sally, what about you?
I don't do sweaters at all. I have lots of hoodies.
Uh-huh.
I have lots of hoodies.
Very good. All right. Do you have any?
I do not. If I'm going to dress up, it's usually a nice wool red coat.
Yeah. You're like, oh, my sweaters are nice. I don't know. Very, very good. Well, this has been really fun. I really enjoyed talking with all of you, with each of you, and I'm really looking forward to reading all of your books, and we'll have all the information if people want to purchase the books in the description so people can check it out. And where can people reach you as far as social media, if you have web pages, all that stuff, starting with you, Joanna?
I'm on Facebook at author Joanna Barker, and same on Instagram at author Joanna Barker. And if you just want to look at my website, you can find me there as well, authorjoannabarker.com. Pretty much the same across the board. So
great. And Sally, what about you?
At author Sally Britton on Instagram, authorSallyBritton.com for my website. Best place to find me on Facebook, though, is actually my reader group where we're having a month-long birthday party for me right now, actually, and it's Sally's Sweet Romance Bends. So that's my favorite place to hang out.
Well, happy birthday.
Thanks.
All right, Arlen, where can people find you?
And for me, just arlem.com, arlemhawks.com, and then Arlem Hawks on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Great. Yeah, we'll have all that in the description. Make sure you're all following them. And thank you so much for coming and taking the time to talk with us. This was really fun. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. You can check out all my reviews. I've been keeping very busy, including my reviews for Emma and Sanditon. You can find on there. I also have Goodreads, that if you want to find me on Goodreads, I'll have a link in the description. You can check out my book reviews. And make sure you're following the podcast to Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media and on iTunes and YouTube. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that so much. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that so much as well. We also have our Patron group, which is such a huge support, and we try to do monthly watch-alongs. This month, we are having the great Nina Weinman on to watch along with her movie Pumpkin Pie Wars. So that's going to be really fun. And we're going to continue to do those throughout the holiday seasons. You definitely want to be a patron. You're going to love it. And so all that information is in the description. We also have our merch store, which has really fun Hallmark and other inspired merch. So check that out. And again, link in the description with that. So thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate it. And we will talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.